Hello, Wear Many Hats listeners. Great to have you all joining us today. As ever, it's me, Mark Robinson. I bet you're probably sick of my voice by now, but I am bringing you very exciting facilities management content, which is what we all want to hear about. As ever, please like, follow, share the page on LinkedIn, support the podcast. We like to think we're doing some good work across the industry. Today, I am joined by our first Italian guest. We can't wait to speak to this lady. I'd like to introduce you all to Elisa, who is the Senior Facilities Manager at WorkPad Group. Hello, Elisa. How are you doing?
Hello, everyone.
Are you doing well?
Very glad to be here. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolute pleasure.
Very excited. So
Yeah.
I hope my accent is not...
Your accent is fantastic. Don't worry about it. If they can understand me, Elisa, they can understand you. And I'm
Well,
Northern, so...
We shall see.
Yeah, everybody seems to understand me, so that's always good. Lovely to have you here. Have you come far today?
No. I currently work at WorkPad and
Yeah.
the head office is just round the corner in Auburn.
Oh, brilliant.
So very
Nice and
close
easy.
by.
Yeah, exactly. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. I bet you could have even walked that.
I do.
Yeah, at least you did get the tube or a scooter or something like that. Good
I
stuff.
walked.
All right, Lisa. Well, listen, I always like to start with a nice, easy question. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into facilities management.
All right. Well, it was... my background is in hospitality.
Right.
So I've worked in the hospitality business for quite a few years, back in my country first, and then as soon as I arrived in London.
And where in Italy are you from?
Florence, Tuscany. And I have been in London by now for about 13 years. So,
Yeah, you must like it then.
oh, I love it.
Yeah, the weather hasn't sent you home yet then?
Not yet.
Okay.
By May at some point, but not yet.
Yeah, hopefully we get a
But I love it. So it's definitely a city of choice for me.
Best city
I
in the
did
world.
not come here out of desperation, I'll be honest. There's always been a conscious decision,
Yeah.
even the one of staying.
Yeah. Good stuff.
And then after having worked in the hotel industry for quite a few years, then I decided I was a little bit tired of the shift, that dimension of Saturday, Sunday, Christmas, New Year's Eve, morning, evening, nights. A little bit
something-
too much all over the place.
You wanted something you could plan around.
Exactly.
Have a life outside of work.
I made the first step in the corporate receptionist world, which is a very natural sort of step
Yeah.
coming from the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
I somehow knew I was not going to enjoy particularly the job. So I was ready
Right.
for that element, a little bit of dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
But I was very keen to get that Monday to Friday job,
Yeah.
sort of 9 to 5. Obviously, once you work in the hospitality industry and you have this dimension of trying to understand your guest needs, try
Yes.
to not just satisfied, but, go above and beyond and make their stay and their journey exciting. Once you join that corporate reception, an element of it comes out
Yeah.
of your picture because people very often comes in order to have their meeting, to meet someone in the building, and you are there just to do that sort of,
Yeah.
security check in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
way, but you
Okay.
can't really enhance their journey
Yeah.
in the building as much as you would do throughout their experience in the
You're
hotel.
getting them drunk in the bar or something like that, basically.
was trying to work it out.
Yeah.
So I knew it was not going to be a long-term work
Yeah.
solution for me. And I was very lucky that in my, where I was working back then in Hanover Square,
Yeah.
I had a property manager. The building was run by BNP Paribas.
I know
and
BNP, yeah.
There was an amazing building manager.
Yeah.
A very talented woman.
Right.
And for me, it has been a great inspiration and an opportunity for me to start my journey in FM.
Right.
So she appreciated my work very much and
Yeah.
gave me that opportunity to disclose some of the things she would do, allow me that element of training and mentoring
Yeah.
on top of her daily duties. She had no obligation because I was, through a contractor, a third party. I was not BNP Paribas staff. And at the end of the day, I was corporate receptionist for her. Nevertheless, she really invested time and energy to talk me through things, to explain me things, up to that stage where I engaged and I gained that interest within what she was doing. So the building itself was very quiet. And so I had the opportunity to use my time at the reception in order to study.
Right.
So I signed off for the BIFM nowadays.
Now IWFM,
Exactly.
yeah, okay.
And I did my diploma of level 5 while I was working as corporate receptionist there.
That's fantastic.
So
Well
there was
done.
plenty of time for me to, while I was there, to do,
So already at that early start in your career.
So I would go, I think I had lessons something like Tuesday evening after work for a few hours.
Right.
So I used to go once a week to do my lessons after work, and then I would present my assessment, I would write, and I would use that experience in order to write about work.
For our listeners at home, because we talked about this on a previous podcast that will be released soon, where it was an individual that was at home during COVID who did it, and he did it very quickly. You were doing that in a working environment. How long did it take you to complete that?
It took me a generous amount of time. So I did a lot throughout that 3 years that I was at the reception.
Yeah.
And then it fell a little bit behind once I took then my job at Broadgate Estate, which was my next.
Your next position.
Now, an element of it was not just due to that change of job and therefore my routine and the need to be more hands-on at work and having less energy and time to put into studying, but I went straight for the diploma of level 5. So I said, because I'm paying these out of my own pocket, I must make the most out of it. I decided, I picked and chose already that diploma that would take me the farthest potentially without the need to keep going back and studying for a prolonged period of time, let's say so. The assessment for that diploma obviously are mostly based on your work experience. So you have to write about your own experience.
Yeah.
I was corporate receptionist until I joined Broadgate. So I could make a lot out of what I could see, what I was in a way witnessing and stealing, if I can say so, with my eyes and with my ears out of the environment I was in. But I did not have that direct experience that would enable me to really write in depth as it would be required for certain specific assessment. So especially when you get into that element of finance and service charge, you can study as much as you want, but until you really do, it's very hard to
the theory's great, but until you actually do it on a day-to-day, it's very difficult.
I had to wait until I had that proper facilities management experience, which I first had at King's Cross with Broadgate, to then being able to go back and complete certain or a few of my assessment to the level that was required, which is why I had to take a span of time a little bit longer than would probably be expected by the majority in order to be able to complete it to the full satisfaction. But I knew I had picked, the bit of a the top end of.
So if we just go back a little bit to that mentor piece. So would you recommend people that were, perhaps they were working in a receptionist role, perhaps they're a cleaner, a supervisor, a security officer, whatever. Would you recommend to listeners that are looking to break into the FM of trying to establish that mentor
100%.
role with somebody who operates?
And I can say, for example, I had a very good assistant up to a few months ago when I moved out of my senior facilities manager role for Trofeum Asset Management, and then she moved up to become the manager, the FM manager.
So you developed that individual
and
in that role.
She used to be a corporate receptionist for us through a third party.
Okay.
In one of the property part of the portfolio of Trofeum. She's absolutely amazing and outstanding. So I got to know her while she was performing as corporate receptionist, providing an outstanding service for us. Similarly, as per my experience when I was on that side of the desk, whenever I would go to site, she would engage with me. She would ask very smart question. You could see that she was interested. She was curious. And throughout that sort of, relationship, then she developed that interest. I could see the potential. And as soon as then in my company, there was an opening for an assistant FM, I went the length to say, well, would this be something you may be interested in? And then she joined us and is assistant FM. And then as soon as I left Trofeum, she is now the manager. She has a new assistant. She is, working with and doing all of that sort of mentoring and coaching and training.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she will have a brilliant career.
That's great, though, because it sounds to me like because of that individual that you came across at BNP and how that helped you in your career, that's become kind of part of the fabric of how you want to deliver your services.
Absolutely, because I
hopefully
really
the individual,
didn't know very much what to do. Like, I knew that corporate job wasn't going to be for me long term. I did my best, and I would always deliver at the highest of my abilities while I am in the role, but I knew it could not be a long term.
Right.
At the same time, I wasn't very much sure what to do next. Like, I didn't know which were my full options to then pick and choose a career. So it made a very huge impact, the opportunity to witness the job of someone, ask this question about, what do you do in your day? I was after even that dimension of doing different things a day that is never the same of, you never get bored in a way.
No. Well,
you can get frustrated, you can get tired, but you don't really get bored within FM.
Well, that's the thing about FM. It's like 25 jobs in one, isn't it? That's kind of the
I
the
also probably, I don't know, maybe it was a combination of many things happening at the same time and at the right time, but it was equally reassuring in a way. Knowing that by then I was in my early 30s. So I wasn't that, I don't know, by sort of age where you want a career, you want to invest. I was eager. I've always been driven, and I always had a desire for doing and achieving. At the same time, I knew I wanted to have a family. Like, I wasn't ready yet, but I know I was not ready to park or put aside that element of desire. So I wanted to do something where the opportunity, the window, if if everything was going to fall in the right place, I don't very much know how to say this, but was going to be there.
You had the ability
exactly. So
an FM as a role,
and
gave you that.
having witnessed someone that I knew had a family and I knew was a great mum without having to compromise by, falling short in the way she was delivering either as a mum or as a professional. I said, then,
I think that's the great thing about our industry, though. One of the great things about our industry is the flexibility associated with it for the right roles, for the right individuals. There really is the opportunity to.
Yes,
to do
I can
things.
see it is in terms of flexibility of working hours. I can see these reduced in the most recent years. So the post-COVID, there is a very much bigger preference within the FM industry for people to be present in the office. And even before I took my most recent role, which I just started at mid-January, sorry.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That's all right.
Even the ads I would see while I was, deciding where to apply and going for interviews, I could see that there was a huge preference for a large presence from the office, which is even understandable. Like, I do see for myself that, you need to go and see your property, you need to meet your tenant, you need to meet your contractors, you can't do everything remotely. You can still do a part of it. And even in my ability in a way, to keep things together, not compromising between being a mom of two young boys and equally, carry on as a senior FM in my role. A lot of it is down even to my great husband who, help a lot and support and is very hands-on. Like, it's not me. You need to have
You've got that structure in place to be able to do
and that family combination that, support the daily running of things. Because as an FM, you do need to make a good effort and presence in the office. But yes, you can combine that with a little bit of flexibility in order to be able to
do you think
make it work.
Do you think that the drive to have people in the office more post COVID is because people, tenants, things like that, wanted to entice people back to the office? So you've got to kind of all link arms and well, if I've got to come in to get them to come in. You know, do you think it was kind of a little bit like that?
I'm not 100% sure.
Right.
And probably one of the reasons why I wouldn't 100% know what is driving this is also because I intentionally decided, after my experience at Broadgate Estate, which was a brief, intense, very useful because of the knowledge I gained.
Like a 2-week course to get your driving license, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I intentionally decided to remain in a small work environment. So I have picked companies that are within that medium, smaller size average.
Yes.
Because of that, you know, when you work with a company that is on average 20 employees, there is value in trying to get the employees in the office in order to create and that team dimension, that
culture.
You know. And I'm not sure the reasoning of it to have more people in the office regularly could be equally applied to a company that have, I don't know, 100, 200, 600 employees, rather having this solution where you book your desk and you just allow more time at home and only 1 or 2 days in the office where people book their desk. So it must be a very different concept, a very different reality. Hard to say what is option A and option B driving the need for or the request from employer for employees to be more present in the office.
So I know that you're quite passionate about women in FM because you kind of told us off for not having enough women on the show when you came in. Thank you very much. That is not for the want of trying, as I've already said. So if there's any ladies out there in FM that want to come and speak to us, we would love to have you on the show.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, no, please do. We need that different dimension. But I know that you're quite passionate about women in FM. And I think, I mean, I'm a man, so I can't say, but I think that the FM space is becoming better at enticing, developing and moving women forward. Would you agree? I mean, we had a great guest, about several months ago, called Louis May Gibson. And she's a chair of the Gender Equity Board at the likes of Knight Frank. She was fantastic, very, you know, pro-female within the FM space. You know, do you feel that it's got better and it's getting better? Or where would you put it?
I would say there is space for women to thrive, to grow, to enter into such a career, if not yet in there. I have personally met great women.
Well, one of them brought you into facilities.
And then,
it's great to see.
You know, even most recently, I had a director that was another marvelous professional.
Yeah.
Again, you know, she has 2 boys.
Yeah.
And she has a great career. And she's a director. It's been a great example, an absolutely great example. And equally, I have a lot of amazing colleagues, even in my current company, more junior level and still great young women that I'm sure they're going to have a beautiful career ahead of them. I know, you know, in women, there is the attention for details. There is the customer service dimension.
The empathy as well, you know, they're a little bit
the ability to be organised.
Yes,
Prioritising. A lot of quality belongs naturally to women. I'm not saying that they do not belong to men, understand me. I'm not.
Well, no, but we're different, aren't we? We've got different skills. So to have both sets of those skills within FM can only enrich it, can't it? You know, it can only 100%. Make it better.
I am
service level,
totally agreeing
clients,
with that.
You know, landlords, anything. You know, it can only make it better. And I think, you know, I think as an industry, we are creating quite a great space, you know, for everybody, really.
I think totally agree on that. And ultimately, it's down to each individual.
Yeah.
And this is not down to gender, it's really much down to each individual and on the amount of energy and effort they want to invest into their career.
Exactly.
And it has nothing to do with the gender. So there is no, you know, blockage in there.
No.
to the industry, because I think there is a very much open industry for anyone to
completely agree, and that's
great.
So great, isn't it?
It is.
I think your story is great. The fact that you were working within that sort of hospitality environment. You moved to the front desk, which you didn't really want to do, but then somebody probably identified the fact she could do so much more, and then took you on a journey, and then you went. You've continued career along that way, and then you're bringing people with you as well. Which
people needs to equally even work on themselves in order to make the most of their career. Personally, for example, I had my second child during COVID, and there for me has been in many different ways my best and my worst year ever.
Yeah. I had a lot during COVID as well. Not me personally, but
I was to go back to work September after the full year of COVID, and I was very much worried about me getting back to work. I knew that mentally I wasn't strong enough to go back to work and perform as I was used to, or at least I had lost an element of that confidence. So maybe I was still absolutely capable and strong, but I had lost an element of confidence.
Let's talk about that, because a lot of women must experience that, Elisa. So let's talk about how could the industry as a whole perhaps support women that are coming back from maternity, and men as well from paternity, because I'm sure it affects what can we do?
Personally, I took it upon myself. So what I did, realizing that something was not really falling into place, and I had to do something ahead of going back to work. Then I had the opportunity to meet another woman,
right?
Who is an amazing professional coach.
Okay.
So I signed up in order to do professional
so you took
coaching with her.
So you took it upon yourself to read,
and I did
confidence that you had.
Absolutely, I had amazing sessions that very much helped me to gain back that confidence that somehow was lost in the net of things. That even it was structured through different levels, our sessions. So she even helped me in a way to figure out the best way logistically to run house and the needs of the kids together with work. Gave me that element of tools and ideas in order for me to be able to breathe through things and be confident that I could manage, I could do. I just had to get that strategy in place, so that. And as soon as you get your wheels in motion, obviously as soon as I went back to work and I started to find the day routine, then obviously just blossomed naturally through,
But that's such an interesting thing. I mean, interesting for a couple of things. One, you went out there and did it yourself. Okay. But is there an opportunity for large business, large FM companies to learn from that and say, maybe we need that capability in-house to support?
For me, the experience of professional coaching has been lighting, has been an amazing journey that has then helped me throughout in many different ways. It even allowed me to gain that tools and that knowledge to then be good equally in assisting and training and coaching my own assistant at work.
Right.
Especially by being for long within, again, that sort of medium, small company. It had great value for me to have someone that was teaching me some coaching strategies and rules, some techniques from even basic things which other companies already have as a tool in order to train their staff. It's depending very much of where do you work, but even in order to do, professional development review, professional development plan, there are many things that come out of professional coaching based on the needs, because it's a relationship on a one-to-one. So it's very much structure of it's your space. You are in the driving seat. So it's whatever are your needs and how they can be fulfilled, how this person can help you to fulfill your potential and be at the best.
Is it a bit like, don't take this the wrong way, right? But is it a bit like therapy? And what I mean by that, whereby they coax the responses out of you, like
yes, there is
Because they don't know your personal circumstances.
100%, but it's focusing on your professional.
Right,
so it's orientated on work.
Yeah.
There is an element of it where if you need a safe space to talk, you would get it. But it's not, a therapy where you go out and you talk about whatever issue you may have with your mom, with your dad, or with your husband.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It was, at least in my experience, it was, I worked on myself with her for the intent of being at work.
Right.
Now, to be fully happy at work, I know I had to know I was doing equally very well at home. So I had that confidence that, I can drop my pen at work and be, once I get home, be there for my kids and my husband 100%.
Yeah.
Which obviously, it's away from that professional side of things, but it has to be incorporated for me to be able to balance everything at the best I can.
Yeah.
But it was a professional, orientated sort of mentoring and coaching I did.
Yeah, it's so great, isn't it? Because that gave you the confidence to come back, but it also taught you new skills.
Yeah, 100%.
Which I'm guessing you now use every day.
100%.
In delivery of services. That's great. That's absolutely brilliant. Anybody out there, I'm sure you wouldn't mind either, if anybody wants to reach out to you to ask questions on that, if they're returning to work after having a child or
absolutely
anything like that. When you see the podcast come out, obviously we'll tag Elisa in it. Feel free to reach out, which would be great. Okay, so, what advice would you give to someone that was looking to start their career in facilities management? Let's talk about women specifically, because we want more women in the industry, don't we? So what advice would you give to a young woman that's perhaps, I don't know, working behind a desk or something like that? How would you get them to break into it? What would you say to them?
Well, they need to take accountability for what they do. So they're having that passion, that ability to take ownership of a task, and whatever they do, take accountability, follow up, that quality that belongs to us by nature, that ability, to look into details. There is so much of it that can be beneficial to the career in so many ways. And there is at times such a lack out there of accountability that I think is something that really whoever wants to work in this sector needs to make sure is ready and willing to bring
needs
along.
to be done.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go on that journey, and are you saying that so basically what you're saying is you have to be prepared to learn new things, to listen.
Yes, and do what needs to be done from start to finish. And then, if there are some hiccups on the way because there is some learning, some adjustment, some lesson to bring home, nevertheless, just keep going, carry on, be consistent, be determined, and take accountability for your work.
Yeah.
Own it. Go out there and ask questions. Like personally, obviously, I was coming from a background that I had no M&E specific knowledge. My university was of a completely different kind, and then I did hospitality. So as soon as I joined FM, I did not have that element of electric, mechanic, plumbing knowledge. You have to gain that basics, and you don't have to become yourself an electrician, a plumber, or a mechanic.
You don't have to get on the tools, do you?
You need to know things in order to be able to read your quotation, to understand the scope of works, to understand the implication of works against the disruption for your tenant, for the services. The way for me has been talking a lot with contractors. With every single contractors I was working with, I would go along, I would witness them at work, I would ask a question. If I get a quotation, if I get a scope of work and I don't understand, I don't pass on and move to the next line. I would pick up a phone or, Google or whatever it takes in order to make sure I understand every single bit before I move on. And that is the only way you can then keep learning up to that stage where you can run your own tender, you can, put down your own scope of work or analyze whatever work or third party is coming back to you, knowing that your director is to ask you a question, you are ready to answer. Because you got it, you understood it, you know. The worst is to be questioned by your line manager, your director, and then, I don't really know, let me go back and I check. 100%. There may be things where you have to go back, do a little bit of homework and come back.
Yeah,
enough,
of course.
but
Yeah.
don't, be curious, which sometimes means
Love that.
digging
Be
down
curious, yeah.
things, working with whoever is more expert than you. 90% of the time, for my experience, is big contractors.
Yeah.
And then
Well, that's why you use
go
them,
down to
isn't it?
understand really from that mechanic, plumbing and electric point of view, what are these things? What are you doing? How are you doing?
Yeah.
And that's where you then understand even your compliance and,
Yeah.
or how to go around problems. Sometimes you do face problems and you may not be in that position to just, replace 100%. You may have to manage that temporary solution or mitigate that issue, which means coming up with that alternative ideas. And you can only create that dimension if you have got that information, that amount of knowledge throughout that conversation with people that operationally do the things that then help you to then do that logistic, that organization, that, desktop work.
But it comes with time, doesn't it?
100%. So you have to be curious and you have to engage with
Listen, you've got two of these, one of these. Yeah. Listen, okay.
Even in my, has been a lot of learning I did working in small office environments. So by being very close to surveyors, for example, in order to understand leases. Now, technically for the FM, it's not necessarily your area of expertise. Surveyors would do leases. But then there is a big truth that you need to know where the responsibility between the leaseholder and the managing company break in order to understand which maintenance task is on you.
Who's responsible
maintenance
for
task is delegated, and then eventually get to the point to understand your service charge schedule, and that's it.
Yeah.
So you're not asked to master, leases. It's not on you, but it's good. You just listen to the conversation. If you are exposed to it, use it as an opportunity to just listen, to understand as much as you can. That will, it will always be useful for the delivery of your own work.
Exactly.
Having that understanding of that landscaping view, a 360 degree of what real estate management is, which is not solely your, contractor any task, but
you need to understand what every cog in the wheel does to make the building work. Okay, cool. All right then, so let's move on to ESG, environmental, social and governance. In your opinion, what do you think, or how do you think that will impact facilities management over the next 5 years?
It will impact heavily. There is a lot of conversation around the topic, but it's very hard to understand from a practical point of view how to tackle it.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do in order to be able to be more
sustainable?
Exactly.
Be better at governance, the social element.
That for me remains partially a question mark. In my previous company, I initiated an ESG policy that is very early stages, so that is a work in progress. And I was pretty, at the beginning, I didn't really know exactly what to do and how to move. There was a lot of reading around the topic, but then very little information of what really to do, unless you are one of those big companies that has an obligation of reporting. And there you have your specific guidelines on how to do your report, which then you would know exactly, even, I assume, where to tackle certain things. It's too vague for whoever has a smaller building, understanding where do I start?
Where does the budget come for that? I do get that.
For me, that starting point, for example, obviously was within scope 3, because that third party, that contractors are the one that do the majority of the work for you, and therefore you can really start impacting positively your amount of emission by knowing you start cooperating with contractors that do have already that element of, way of working more socially responsible and so on. But it's a long way, and it has to impact heavily the sector. I mean, I know that as FM, we do have an important role to assist in making sure that buildings are, running, producing as little emission as reasonably possible.
Yeah.
How to get there? For me, at least, there is still a good element of question mark.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, there is room for trying, for learning.
Yeah.
Again, there is a
trial
lot
and error?
that
Do you think a little bit of it's trial and error?
probably yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of help that can come out of artificial intelligence nowadays, especially out of BMS systems. So obviously that's sort of, but a lot of these is applicable to large building or to buildings that are recently either renovated. The reality, at least for the type of estate I have been running for the most recent years, is sort of legacy building.
Yeah.
In central London, in Mayfair.
Quite difficult.
Which you wouldn't have a point in going the length of installing a BMS system.
No.
In order to,
of course,
control the room temperature or these sort of things. So you are still on that basic level where you want to have the sensor for your light.
Yeah.
You want to have the timer on your air conditioning unit, knowing they are not running at night, but the length of that very useful tools that would come out of artificial intelligence, BMS system, that network of systems is not so naturally applicable to certain type of property of old-fashioned or legacy building, then how do you become more...
So you've got to kind of think about it slightly differently. Yeah.
It's a bit harder.
Yeah. Okay.
Then obviously you have some practical restriction if you have a listed building,
That makes it very difficult. Yeah, of course, yeah.
So there are some challenging in order to say, yes, we have a duty and we have an opportunity in here to do something good.
Yeah.
Is some element of understanding how we can go the length of that in the type of property we have got is...
Okay. So one final question for you, Elisa. If we could pop you in a time machine, back 10, 15 years ago when you started your career in facilities management, when you were walking up to King's Cross, I suppose, that first day, but you managed to get hold of your younger self, pull her in a coffee shop, what advice would you give her?
Never give up.
Yeah?
Never ever give up.
Keep going.
Never give up.
Yeah. Never give up. Yeah, that's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what is that all? Would you not say anything else?
I'm pretty satisfied and happy of the journey I had. And
so no regrets.
The important for me is whatever obstacle you find.
Yeah.
Give up.
Never give up.
For me, it has been that same experience when I had that big obstacle of getting back to work after COVID and maternity.
Yeah.
And I know I had to find a solution to be able to get back to work. I didn't just stop and try on it. And that would nowadays still, going back, the best advice I would give to myself, knowing that there will always be challenges coming your way.
Of course, yeah.
It's inevitable. It's the nature of life. It's the nature of work. They can be small, they can be big, and these can be from a personal point of view as much as from, a work point of view,
Yeah, of course.
An emergency light that failed and is costing too much.
Yeah. About the small stuff. Yeah. Worry about the big stuff.
Keep going.
Yeah. Worry about what you can control, not what you can. That's what I was always told. It doesn't stop me worrying about what I can't control.
And never get into that game of or trying to, sometimes it's good to, whatever happened has happened. Working too much to try to work out
who did what,
who was at fault, why did happen. It may be good if there is a lesson you want to bring home on why did it happen, but look forward. So, we are where we are. Let's find the solution. Let's move forward and understand how to get there.
To fix whatever's gone wrong.
Looking too much at the past may not bring enough good. So look forward.
Yeah. All right. Good. Great advice. Elisa. Okay, final question isn't really about FM. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you like to get up to outside of work. Obviously, you've mentioned your two boys. How old are they?
Yes, so my boys are 3 and 6.
Oh, 3 and 6. So
almost 6. And
so about another 2 years till they're in the living room kicking the crap out of each other. Then, yeah.
they've already started. It's good.
Yeah.
And very much that for me is
The family.
Exactly. So when I am at work, I give it 100%.
Yeah.
Equally, when I leave it work, I like to get home.
Yes.
Like for me is a great pleasure.
Yeah.
I know, for example, I miss on that element of socializing, even with colleagues. I don't have that feeling of missing out. Like for me is a big desire to go home at the end of the day, see the boys, knowing I'm gonna be there for that bedtime routine, for that few precious minutes with them, as well as for the weekend. So my spare time is a time I like to play with them, take them out, go to the playground. Very simple things, but
I do I do very similar things.
So,
but I give it back to the wife when it starts kicking off. No, I'm joking. I don't. I'm a great father, I promise.
I'm sure you.
Yeah. Anyway, Lisa, that's the end of the podcast. How have you found it?
Thank you so much. It was amazing. Yeah. I hope my accent.
No, your accent's brilliant. Your accent. I think your English is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely
through
fantastic.
the microphone.
No.
Thank you ever so much for this opportunity. It was great to be here.
It's lovely to have you.
And I think you do an amazing job. So,
thank you very much.
It's
not me; it's this young man. So, he's all I am is the mouth. I don't do anything else. Anyway, Elisa, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you, and I'm sure that our listeners will be able to learn quite a lot about some of the others, particularly the returning from maternity. Thank you for sharing that with us, because a lot of people don't like to share personal stories. So, but that I think will help people across the industry.
Well, best of luck to everyone out there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Going back to work.
Exactly.
From maternity.
Exactly. All right, guys, that's the end of another episode of Wear Many Hats. Absolutely fantastic one, I think. Some great learnings there, and some great contributions from our guest Lisa. So that's it. We'll see you next time. Take care. And remember, if you can't be good,